Hello there Scapers, my name is Xenavilius and welcome to my video. I'm going to be speaking about the apparently unspeakable horrors. This is the name given to the new type of cave horrors within Mos Lamlus, which have been released today. The first thing I was fearing is having to get these as an Ushabti soul. Thankfully that wasn't the case. I still had my trim comp. I was really surprised by that. But they've also graphically updated all the horrors on the island. So you will see that the jungle horrors now look a lot scarier. It's been a long overdue update, but it's come nevertheless. They've also updated the cave horrors and of course the unspeakable horrors. You can also get there by creating a shortcut which will require you to use a fairy ring, code DIP, but also run on the other side to fix it from both sides so that you can use the fairy ring in the future, requiring 8 regular planks and 16 nails of any type. These guys have been in the game for a very long time. If you didn't remember, they were the ones that used to drop, and they still drop the black mask, which is a key component of the Slayer helmet. And although it's not entirely necessary, you do want to bring a witchwood icon to make it easier for yourself. You can always swap out in the middle of the fight depending on how much food you have, how much healing you need and so on. If you don't have it, they will constantly hit you 10% of your max HP, so that can be quite brutal. But I found that there were quite a few nice safe spots for these guys because they melee you, and you can use these safe spots to ensure they don't hit you. As long as you're careful, it's not a problem at all. They're slightly more powerful than the cave horrors. The cave horrors only have 5k LP. These guys have 13k. Not brutally difficult, but reasonably difficult, I guess. Level 58 Slayer, same as cave horrors. Also make sure you bring a light source, otherwise you will get absolutely wrecked in there. But yeah, they're not particularly difficult to kill. I did a bit of a test using the safe spot. It wasn't really a very viable method, and then I started to use a cannon, and using that cannon I got quite a few kills. Really easy to kill, to be fair. And the main reason I was killing these was for the new ability codex called Scare Tactics, which only has a 50k GE price, but it's actually worth a lot more. Not only that, I was quite surprised to see that their drops were quite profitable. Around this time last year they released Gemstone Dragons, whose drops were absolutely terrible for such a high level Slayer mob. But these guys have some reasonably good drops for such a low level Slayer monster, so could be a viable Slayer task to do instead of blocking or skipping as a medium leveled player. And although it's not like a top end update, I think it's a pretty good update for low to medium leveled players, especially Iron Man as well, because there's so much jewelry. It could be quite a good source of fortunate components. They also drop a new journal, which I assume is a master Questscape requirement, and of course they also have the ability to drop the black mask. So all in all, a pretty good Slayer task, reasonably enjoyable, although it's quite crowded. And yeah, let's have a look at how much gains per hour you can get at these. Alright, so 17 minutes to get my first scare tactics, and I think I'm gonna end the testing there. So let's have a look. How many did I kill? Well, each of them gave 846 XP, so that is 440k magic XP an hour, which equates to 520 killed an hour. 520 an hour is not too bad. You can boost it if you have better methods than what I was using, and if you had a Slayer task, that translates to 236k Slayer XP an hour. Not really that good, to be honest, but I guess the main draw of these guys is the cash per hour right now, because of how much Scare Tactics are selling for. Last I checked, they sold for 4 mil each. I'm not going to sell mine. I'm actually going to try and unlock one of these. So let's see how much I made in 17 minutes. Multiply that by 3.53 to get the per hour value, if you like. So it says it's 50k, but it's not actually 50k. Let's take that off. That's 509k in 17 minutes, which is 1.8 mil an hour in normal drops. I did sip a few of these weapon poisons, so you can add a bit, and I might have missed a drop or two, but not too bad, to be honest. I don't know what the drop rate for Scare Tactics is. Assuming it is the same drop rate as when I stopped it, which is 1 in 150. I killed 147, I think. If you assume it's 1 in 150, then you can safely say, if it is 4 mil right now, that I made 4.5 mil in 17 minutes, which is 60 mil an hour. I'm not sure that's going to last too long, but exploit it while it lasts, guys. But anyway, let's move on. Alright, so I'm not actually going to sell it. I'm going to open it up and see what I can get. You cannot understand the words, but as the hairs on the blah blah blah. Alright, so it looks like I unlocked both the magic and the ranged version, which is awesome. I thought you had to unlock them separately. There's no confirmation screen, which is a bit worrying, but anyway, it's only 4 mil, not too bad. Demoralize, intimidate your target, and rout. So it seems like these are the equivalents of kick and stomp that melee has right now. I was pleasantly surprised, to be fair, that you only needed one codex to unlock all 4 abilities, which is quite good. But I gotta admit, I was kind of surprised to see so much hate for this ability. I mean, sure, in 99% of situations it's not going to replace your ability rotations, but one potential application of these is doing Slayer or low level bossing, where you're primarily focused on a single target rather than multiple targets. Edimmus aren't really a great example because you'd usually cannon them for the fastest XP rates, but let's just assume that you were doing some Edimmus, you wanted to AFK a little bit, chill out, and you weren't that worried about aggroing a lot at once. You weren't worried about AoE DPS as much as single way DPS. One viable use of these is to use Combust first and then either shock or demoralize second, depending on whether you're using mage or range. Since these two share a 15-second cooldown, you'll use one after the other, and as soon as one comes off cooldown you can use that quickly followed by the other. So what it will do is it will bleed your enemy and then move them back 1 square so that you double your bleed damage automatically. So if you're looking to AFK, it could be a good option, but the disappointing thing is that it still only applies to targets that are 1 by 1 in size. Anything bigger and it won't work. I was hoping because it was something that you had to buy rather than something that was given to you like kick and stomp were, that it would unlock at least this extra effect, but nope. You still have to walk under your target if they're anything bigger than 1 by 1 in size, because these won't work. So that really sucks, guys. But apart from that, although they are meant to be ranged and mage variants of kick and stomp, somehow the cooldown is shared between all 3 styles. So the basic version shares the same cooldown across all 3, and the threshold version also does the same. And even worse, it's shared between impact, deep impact, binding shot, and tight bindings as well. So a little bit annoying in that regard, but practically I don't see many reasons why you'd want to use one quickly after the other. And yes, of course, it's not really going to be that useful at bossing. In fact, you'd probably prefer binding shot and tight bindings because of the 10-second bind, which you can exploit by using piercing shot with increased DPS for 10 seconds, which doesn't apply to these guys. So a lot of disadvantages to these guys in most situations, but in these small niche situations, I guess it can be useful. One of the other concerns of players was, why didn't they just rework these abilities instead of just adding new versions for mage and range just to fill out the junk, if you like? But I have a sneaky feeling these are going to be needed for Solak. I don't know, guys. I mean, if you remember Virago P5, everyone needs to do pretty good DPS compared to its DPS on the team in order to push it off the cliff. Maybe there's a mechanic in Solak where everyone needs to use a variant of kick or stomp, be it melee, mage or range, at the same time in order to finish off Solak. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm just clutching at straws here, but I can see some kind of a tactic like that coming into play. Maybe that's a reason they've included it. Also, I thought that's why they introduced the blue and green jellyfish last week with the deep sea fishing update, because it allows you to heal more per tick and have a high chance of out-eating the ridiculous damage that Solak will be able to do. But you know, they just went ahead and nerfed it. 750 healing per bite now, not 1000. Oh well, that's probably the highlight of today, guys. Not unspeakable horrors, not scare tactics, none of the new abilities, the fact that they nerfed the blue jellyfish. So bring back rocktails. Rocktails have risen from their grave again. Not really. I mean, jellyfish is still pretty good. 750 is not that much lower than 1000, but yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with today's updates as a higher leveled player, but I can see a lot of positives here for lower levels and mid-level players. So you can't expect everything to be the absolute best update, to be the new meta for every single situation. But on the other hand, I do think they could have done a better job of this update by addressing some of the wider issues rather than focusing on the short term and being narrow-minded. But anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There's not much to analyze with these new abilities. They are literally the equivalent of kick and stomp. 4 mage in range. Practically you would just walk under the boss to double the combust effect or the frag shot effect, but if you're lazy you could use these abilities, so there's that as well. And I didn't even remember to mention the fact that they do not work with flanking. So for those of you who don't know what flanking does, it's a perk which gives you increased damage with certain stunning abilities. Granted that kick and stomp weren't part of this category previously, but every other single hit stun was, if the target is facing away from you. It's used a lot at group bosses such as AOD, Virago, Yakamaru and so on. Personally I don't use it, but I can see why people would be absolutely bewildered at why this does not work with flanking, which is a very good question. I have absolutely no idea. It makes them even worse than normal stuns are in that regard. So I'm hoping that's just an oversight by Jagex and that they will buff it. I'm hoping they will buff it all round next week or sometime between this week and next week. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. I've got a video I've really been wanting to get out for you guys next, so hope you look out for that one. I'm really excited to be making it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.